Hi, everyone. We'll get started in just a few moments when more guests show up. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in just a few moments. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Duke University Info Session. My name is Jessie Schwartzman, and I am the Engagement Coordinator for JumpSpark. JumpSpark drives innovative teen programming out of the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta as one of the 10 communities that comprises the Jewish Teen Education and Engagement Funder Collaborative. We want to take a moment to thank our friends at Chicago Springboard, Chicago's Jewish Teen Initiative, for inspiring us to create our first ever national road trip featuring 32 universities for all college-bound teens and their parents. We also could not have done this work without our partners at Forefront Baltimore and the Teen Funder Collaborative. Our Jump on the Bus virtual college road trip includes student-led tours, professional information sessions, and ways to virtually connect with the colleges you are interested in. New college tours and information sessions are held daily throughout the month of June, so make sure to follow our social media at JumpSparkATL and our website, roadtriptocollege.org, to sign up for more sessions and to create your own personal road trip. And with that being said, let's get started. Our panelists representing Duke today are Hildana Heliasius, an admissions officer, Rabbi Alina Friedman, the campus rabbi for Jewish life at Duke, and Becky Arbrieve and Brooke Scheinberg, two current students at Duke University. Nicole Piedra, another admissions officer, will also be on answering questions in relation to admissions. During our panelist presentations, please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll leave plenty of time at the end to answer all your questions. And with that being said, I would like to hand it over to Hildana to present about Duke along with Becky and Brooke.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here on a Monday evening, spending a little bit of time with us to learn a little bit about Duke, the undergraduate experience, as well as, of course, the admissions process and what we're looking for in evaluating as far as looking at our students. And so I'm excited to be here with you all. My name is Holdana Haley Jesus. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a proud Duke alum as well as an admissions officer here at Duke University. I actually read for Georgia and Alabama, and I'm also a proud Atlanta native. I'm actually from Stone Mountain, so if there's anyone here who is in Gwinnett County, excited to have you here. If you will use your raise hand function actually, so I can know. So you can signal to me, hello, everyone. So thank you all so much for being here. And I'm excited to talk with you all a little bit about our undergraduate students, our experience. And so we'll get started. So our undergraduate population is comprised of about 6,700 students, and we really pride ourselves in the diversity of students that we're able to bring together. That means that we are having students represented from all 50 states. We have students represented from over 100 international regions, and over half of our students identify as students of color. And so really working together and bringing together students from all walks of life. When we talk about diversity, and it's not just demographic diversity, right? Looking at students that come from multiple parent households, looking at students that are from rural regions and cities. And so because we understand that in bringing together a class of students, we're organizing folks that are going to be roommates, hallmates, lab partners, and in general teammates on this Duke campus. And so students, and here at Duke, college is a verb. Students explore and live together with intensity and excitement, and they do this together, and they do this as a community. I'm going to take this moment to kind of show you all a few pictures of campus, as we're not able to be live right now physically on campus. Oh, sorry. Just a little bit about student life. You see here is the Bryan Center Plaza, which is one of our centers where students really come together and convene. And so this is where a lot of student organizations may table and let you know about upcoming events. And then looking at sports, right? So pride and campus excitement is huge, right? And so that happens both inside of the classroom and also in the basketball arena, right? You may or may not know we're somewhat involved and somewhat competitive. And so that's the space in which students really celebrate and are able to come together. And then another picture that I have here is actually an image of the Duke Gardens. Duke Gardens is one of the most beautiful parts of Duke's beautiful campus. And what you're looking at here is actually an a cappella group performing. It's an a cappella performance, and students from all over campus are actually here together and kind of sharing. And so I'll kind of take a moment here and invite either Becky or Brooke to kind of share maybe a little bit about student organizations on campus. Either of you feel free to kind of just jump in.
Yeah, so I'm involved in a couple of different organizations on campus. I'm involved in Duke Debate, which has been super cool. Last winter, I went to the World Debating Championship with Duke Debate in Cape Town, South Africa, which was super cool. And I've also met a lot of my friends through debate. I'm also involved in a lot of freshman orientation stuff. So if you guys decide to come to Duke, the beginning of your experience at Duke and really your introduction to campus, I organize a lot of that. And again, that's another organization that I think a lot of the Duke organizations and extracurriculars have their focus, but then also our social groups and functions, which is really awesome and a way to meet tons of different people that share some experiences, but then also are maybe a different major or live in different dorms so that you wouldn't have met them otherwise. So that's kind of some of my experiences with on-campus organizations.
So likewise, I'm involved in a few different organizations. I spend most of my time, I'm on the varsity track and field team. So that is the main organization that I take part in. I'm also very involved in Chabad on campus. I also do research through the medical school. It's not necessarily an organization, but definitely an activity I'd say that takes up a good amount of time. And I also tutor local middle schoolers in the Durham area.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you both. So that was just a little look, right, as we're looking at the physical look of campus and kind of what things happen with students and organizations. And so as we're talking about the way that college is a verb here at Duke and the way students are really actively engaged, that engagement really starts in the classroom, right? And so students are really exposed to an interdisciplinary, rigorous, and flexible curriculum, and they're able to explore this in a collaborative, immersive, and experiential way, right? And so something that I love to talk about when we mention this is service learning, which is an opportunity for students to actually experience in person and be a part of the community in a way that they are engaging the work that they are doing in the classroom. A class I was in was called medical sociology, and we were actually studying the aging process, and in that process understanding what it is in the classroom, but then volunteering at nursing homes in the local community and being able to get that experiential aspect. And so looking at learning on campus and where that starts really is in one of our two schools, which is the Trinity College of Arts and Science or the Pratt School of Engineering. And so the most important thing to know when you're deciding which school do I apply to, does it matter? Do you want to be an engineer or do you want to be literally anything else? And so if the answer is literally anything else, you apply to the Trinity College of Arts and Science. If the answer is an engineer, then you apply through the Pratt School of Engineering. And with both schools, we really focused here at Duke on having this accessible liberal arts education where students are able to explore interdisciplinarily. And so some of the ways we do that in allowing our students to explore is, number one, we don't have a general education requirement. There are not courses you have to take before you're able to get engaged in a particular major or area you're interested in. You're actually able to start as soon as you get to campus with the classes you're interested in. You don't have to declare your major until about your sophomore spring. And so you have about a year and a half to explore before you're really thrown in there. And then the one last thing I'll note about Trinity and the flexibility and the accessibility of this curriculum is our program 2. And so program 2 is kind of a Build-A-Bear workshop for our undergraduates and being able to design their own major. And so you're actually able to, let's say, for example, you're interested in environmental science, French history, and engineering, and you want to know how you can bring those three together. Well, you're actually able to meet with advisors, meet with faculty from each of these departments, and design a curriculum that works for you and being able to bring your areas of interest together. And so really focusing on that liberal arts education being accessible, both for our Pratt students as well as our Trinity students. The image we're looking at here is not a dorm room, actually. It is a mechanical and electrical engineering seminar that students are a part of. And so in thinking about Pratt is also still a part of this liberal arts curriculum that we, of course, is accessible to all of our students, but Pratt is very much a hands-on and strong engineering curriculum. It starts in the first year. Students are a part of the first year design course. And I'll kind of ask Becky to jump in here and talk a little bit, as I know she's a Pratt major.
Yes, so I'm a biomedical engineering major in Pratt. I actually have taken this class where the picture was taken right there. The project was actually building a robot, and they made it Quidditch themed. So they're playing robot Quidditch if you're wondering what they're doing. But yeah, so I felt I have had lots of time and flexibility to explore my interests while following what is a rigorous engineering curriculum. And like I said, they do incorporate a liberal arts education as well, in that there are, you are encouraged to take history, philosophy classes. I've actually taken 3 philosophy classes that I've really enjoyed as well. But at the same time, I have also taken many really interesting biomedical engineering courses as well. And then about the first year design course, I feel like that was one of the most, one of my favorite classes so far at Duke. You get paired in a team, and you actually build and solve a real life engineering problem. So for my case, we were paired with the Duke Nursing School, and we built a device for monitoring continuous bladder irrigation, which was actually then tested in the real nursing school with real life patients. And we continued to work on that project after that as well. So that really got me interested in engineering to begin with, and gave me a good foundation going forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Becky. And so the next thing you might be thinking is, with this amazing, rigorous, flexible curriculum, accessible curriculum, how are students expected to kind of navigate their way? And so although students have a lot of freedom, they're in no way doing this on their own. And so there's a number of ways in which faculty are accessible. Number one, all faculty have required office hours in which students are able to come and ask questions, get help, or just get to know them. And another thing that the university does is a program called Flunch. Flunch, and talking about, it stands for faculty lunch. And so Duke will actually pick up the check for you to take one of your faculty out to lunch. I don't know, maybe Brooke, if you want to talk a little bit about faculty and how accessible they are and how they have been for you on campus.
Yeah, I absolutely adore specifically the Flunch program because I think having relationships with faculty on campus has been so influential in such a positive way for me during my time at Duke. And I think initially, particularly as a freshman and a sophomore, I was like kind of nervous about approaching faculty, especially if faculty have a lot of like really cool published papers, or I took a class with one professor who she's just like internationally well known and is constantly being recognized for her like insanely impressive research. So I was like nervous to just kind of approach her out of nowhere. And the Flunch program kind of provides that avenue to like take away the awkwardness. And it's like, hey, like Duke has this thing already built in, just like invite your faculty to Flunch and you just get to have a free meal with them and talk to them about the class or their research. And it's led to me building some like really strong relationships with faculty, which I think while I was like looking for a college was not something that I was consciously thinking about, but I think it is something that has been so important and so helpful through my time at Duke, is having like close faculty members who I can be like, hey, like I'm thinking about grad school, or I'm not sure how to do this thing, or I'm not sure what classes to take. And they're like so helpful and so willing to connect you to other faculty that you maybe don't know that could be helpful. So that's been something that's been like so overwhelmingly positive for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Brooke. And so in kind of expanding on that and thinking about the amazing faculty that students have access to, there's also a number of ways in which students are able to engage with our faculty outside of the classroom and beyond the classroom. And that's really important for us. And that happens on campus in a number of ways, but 3 hallmark programs that kind of showcase this is our Focus program, Duke Immerse, and Bass Connections. And so I'll touch briefly on each of those 3. Focus is a program that exists for first-year students that are interested in taking an immersive dive for their first year. And so over the course of your first year, you take 4 classes, you're in a cohort of about 15 or so students taking a deep dive into a particular area. So maybe you've had a passion for neuroscience and you get to campus and you want to be thrown in there, and there's only so many intro level classes you can take. A Focus program is one way in which you're able to explore a little more deeply. And that exists similarly. Duke Immerse is a program that exists similarly for upperclassmen students. And so one popular one is Duke Immerse South Africa, which actually looks at civil rights and looking at civil rights movements in the US and comparing them to South Africa. And the really cool thing about Duke Immerse is students are actually able to travel. And so in addition to visiting local museums, as well as traveling to Atlanta and looking at civil rights history in the South, the students in this course are actually able to travel to South Africa for a few weeks and getting that learning piece that happens in person and being across the globe, right? And making it a little bit more real. And then you have Bass Connections, which is an opportunity for students to be able to engage in research. It brings together undergraduates, graduate students, and faculty together to work on particular projects. These projects may work over the semester, over the summer, over multiple semesters. And so this is also another way that undergraduate students are introduced to research. And we'll talk a little bit more about research specifically as we move through our presentation. But the next thing, in addition to these signature opportunities, Duke is a place where there's a culture of creativity and entrepreneurship. And so whether that's the newly built Rubenstein Art Center, which is a huge glass building, and really I love to reference it as a love letter to the arts. The entire building is sprung. It has multiple dance studios. It's home to our campus radio station. It's also home to a maker space where students are actually able to, whether you're looking to do some cutting or 3D printing. And so students all have access to this art space. And it's just another way in which we're able to engage alumni when they come back to campus and being able to give talks and giving advice. And so whether it's alumni that are in the arts, alumni that are involved in the bullpen, which is another space around near campus that is an incubator for entrepreneurial startups. And so students that want to apply and be a part of the startup challenge and actually propose a startup, work on it with their teammates, and actually get funding to launch it off the ground. And so a lot of support and things happening there. And so now we're going to talk what I mentioned earlier, just a little bit about research. I don't know if anyone wants to utilize the chat box to let me know if they know what animals we're looking at right here. Can anyone tell me? Anyone in their home know what? Yes, thank you, Maya, for the first answer. We are looking at lemurs. So these are ring-tailed lemurs. And lemur, the great thing about lemurs, and specifically we like to talk about them because Duke has a lemur center. The Duke Lemur Center is actually home to the largest population of lemurs outside of Madagascar. And so that's a point of pride for us. But also because there's so much research that happens at the Lemur Center that is neurocognition and a number of different behavioral research, and students are actually able to spend time at the Lemur Center and be there and doing research. And so research is something that over half of our students, over 50% of our students participate in some form of fully funded research opportunity by the time they graduate. And so that over 50% is just students that are doing one. And so a number of our students are involved in many research experiences. And it's really easy. You can start as your freshman year. You can get funding as early as your freshman fall. And I will take this opportunity to invite our current students to maybe talk a little bit about ways in which they've been able to engage in research in their time at Duke.
Yeah, so actually my freshman year, I wanted to get involved in some research, and I just started by emailing random faculty who I didn't know, but they were in the fields that I was interested in, and got a bunch of responses. Again, got some that didn't respond, but just emailed everybody, and very approachable. I spoke to many different professors and doctors who I would have never interacted with my freshman year. And I had the opportunity to work in a lab in the Department of Neuroscience in the medical school, and learned a ton of really, really useful and interesting research skills that I don't think is like very normal for a freshman to be exposed to that kind of things, which not only helped me understand a career path that I was interested in, but also helped me in future classes, like biology classes that I hadn't taken yet. Overall, it was a really, really great experience. And then I am now actually working in a lab in the Department of Biomedical Engineering, working with ultrasound, which I'm really enjoying right now as well.
Yeah, so I started doing some research with the math department my sophomore fall, I think, and it was actually looking at like math education research, and we were evaluating a class at Duke, like a current math class, and like they were piloting a new version. That was also something that I was just kind of like, oh, I think I might be interested in math education. And one of my professors was like, oh, talk to this person, and then it just like worked out. I think it's crazy how accessible research opportunities are at Duke. And it's like, if you want one, you can definitely figure it out. And professors are so willing to connect you to the right people. And it's really cool that like you can start as early as Becky did, like freshman fall, or like you can get involved super late too. Like I'm deciding I'm going into my senior year right now, and I'm probably going to start in a new lab. I have a Zoom call about it tomorrow in the fall. So it's like never too late to get involved also on the flip side, which is really cool.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing. So in thinking about the ways in which Duke students are able to move outside the classroom and now really outside of Duke and Durham as a physical space, and thinking about study abroad is something that that is very accessible to our students on campus. Over 50% of students study abroad at least once by the time they graduate. And that is including our Pratt students, again, making this liberal arts education accessible to everyone, right? So study abroad and being away for 2 semesters shouldn't be something that only you can do if you major in a particular department, right? And so being focused on that, students are able to study abroad in a number of ways, whether that is a Duke approved program or a Duke in program. And so Duke in programs are Duke classes taught by Duke faculty and professors that just happen not at Duke. And so whether that's Duke in Alicante in the summer, where you're able to get an immersive Spanish experience, or Duke in LA, which focuses on media studies. And that's actually a course that my sophomore year roommate was a part of. And so, a program. And so you're able to spend a whole semester immersed in this particular area. They exist, Duke in programs exist during the summer as well as during the academic years. And they actually, are accessible to students in a number of ways. In addition to doing a Duke in program, students have the option to participate in a Duke approved program. And so if there is a program that another university, an institution, an organization has that you would like to be a part of, and maybe has a curricular portion that you would like to receive credit for, you can submit that and speak with some faculty about getting it approved as a program that you can get credit for. And I actually had a friend do that, and she was able to spend a semester studying away and travel to South Africa, Brazil, and India in one semester. And so a lot of opportunity and potential in study away and study abroad here at Duke. And one way that students are actually able to do this is Duke Engage, which is a hallmark program for us. And Duke Engage is a service-focused service program that is about 8 weeks. It's fully funded. And so when you are participating in Duke Engage, it's only during the summer, and it's fully funded and no cost to students. And these exist all over the world as well as domestically. There's Duke Engage in New Orleans, which focuses on hurricane relief from Katrina and working with the Red Cross, which is work that's still actively happening. Duke Engage in Ecuador, focusing on public health, and a number of Duke Engage programs that exist between those. And so whether you're looking to be domestic or international, if service is something you're interested in, Duke Engage is just one of the many ways that students do this on campus. And so the next thing we're going to kind of touch on really briefly is East Campus. And so if you are not familiar with Duke's campus, this is an aerial view of East Campus, which is where the first year experience really begins. And so first years live on East Campus together. It is a self-sustaining campus. There is a dining hall on East Campus. One great hallmark of East Campus are the FIRs, which are faculty in residence. And so this is a really great way in which students are able to build this class camaraderie together before they're moving to West Campus and being a part of that upperclassmen experience. Just so you know, physically, East Campus is only about 1.5 miles from West Campus. There are buses that run regularly back and forth. And so a lot of opportunity there. And you will have classes both on East and West Campus. And so in no way are you isolated in your first year experience. And then next we're looking at, well, for those of you who may not know, where is Duke, right? Where is Durham? Duke is located in Durham, North Carolina, which is triangulated by 2 other major cities, Raleigh, North Carolina, and Chapel Hill. There's not a lot happening in Chapel Hill. No, I'm joking. And so that's a joke for those of you who know. Duke and UNC have, in my opinion, the greatest basketball rivalry in college basketball. But outside of that, really, we're great academic partners. And that's something really to be said for this network of colleges in North Carolina. I think one of the benefits of being at Duke University is the access that you have to a state that has so many schools, whether it's North Carolina State, North Carolina Central University, East Carolina, and so it's a lot of spaces, St. Augustine in Raleigh and Chapel Hill, right? And so that's just to name a few. And so whether it's in Greensboro, the coast, you're really in a space that's really wonderfully intellectual. And speaking of, some things to know about Durham and this community. Durham is an artsy city. It's an artsy town. It's a foodie town. If you ever have the opportunity to visit Duke University or Durham, you have to actually go out and eat. If you don't eat in Durham, you actually didn't visit. That's the secret rule that no one tells you about. And so whether you're looking at BU Cafe, which is actually owned by a Duke alum, or Dame's Chicken and Waffles, those are 2 places that I love to suggest to people. But I will actually invite the current students to just say a little bit about, I'm sorry, I'm trying to mute my screen, but if you want to say a little bit about ways in which you've been able to be a part of the Durham community, maybe things you've attended at DPAC, the Durham Performing Arts Center, but more importantly, also just food in Durham.
Yeah, Durham is an amazing city. I actually lived in Durham the summer after my sophomore year also, so I got to spend even more time just like eating in Durham and discovering Durham. One of my favorite Durham things is the Durham Farmers Market, which is like every Saturday morning in like the not winter season, so like fall, and then it also comes back in the spring. And that's incredible. Some other food places, there's like just like every food place in Durham is so good. I feel like there are too many to list. But also something that I've gotten to do in Durham is volunteer. So I am a crisis hotline responder for the Durham Crisis Response Center. So they like work with survivors and victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. And that's something that I've been able to do kind of off campus, but still within the Durham community. So that's a way that I've been able to like be a Duke student without being specifically on Duke's campus. And I think that that's not something that's rare at all. I think a lot of people volunteer are pretty involved in Durham. And like Hildana mentioned, there's also like the DPAC where there's tons of shows. I've been to a couple of concerts in Durham. A lot of really cool artists come through either Cat's Cradle, or the Ritz is in Raleigh, which is like close enough by that you can see some cool artists. But yeah, there's like tons of stuff to do in Durham as well that are like super exciting and fun.
Awesome, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And so kind of moving through, so just so you know, right, being a part of Duke and being a part of the Duke community and family is something that you're a part of forever. When we think about our alumni and talking about Forever Duke, you're entering a network of enterprising individuals that are excited to support you and be present for you in your undergraduate experience, but also well past graduation. And so now kind of getting to the reason why you're here, maybe the application process, what we're talking about, what we're looking for. And so we'll kind of go through that, and then we'll get, so that's what we'll kind of touch on here. First is you apply to us using your common application or coalition application. We don't have a preference. You apply through either Trinity or Pratt, as I mentioned, engineer, or literally anything else. And then the thing to know is we practice what we call early decision. So you apply early decision or regular decision. Early decision is a binding agreement with us, your parents, and the university, basically saying if you are offered admissions in our early decision cycle, you will withdraw your application from all other institutions, and because you will be joining us in the fall. And so if you apply early decision, you can only apply to us, no other private institutions, but you are able to apply to any public institutions as well as international institutions. And so that's just something to know about the distinction between early decision and early action. Early action, in some ways, other schools' practices allow you to apply to multiple schools, and that is not the case with early decision. These are the deadlines listed for you to see. The priority deadline indicated here, December 20th, that's for if you are interested in an alumni interview. Those will take place on a first come, first served basis, and those are all through our alumni network. And so we need you to apply by that time for us to be able to get that interview before those January deadlines. So a little bit about our admissions process and what we practice, right? We practice holistic admissions, which means we understand that you are a full person. I am a human person evaluating you, as are a number of our admissions colleagues. And so this is not a process that's driven by numbers. And so no single area that's listed here overrides another, but really is important in giving us a full understanding of who you are as a student, as an applicant. And so first, we're looking at your transcript. We're looking to see rigor and the rigorous curriculum that you're pursuing, whether that's AP, IB, or dual enrollment, and your performance, and how are you doing in these courses, right? How are you handling the rigorous curriculum that you're pursuing? Next, we're looking at standardized testing, everyone's favorite topic. But the thing to note about standardized testing, right, for us, it's just one metric, and it's an opportunity for us to see, in conjunction with your transcript, can you handle the rigor of work that is here at Duke University? And that's really all it is, right? And so we understand that is one day of testing on a Saturday, a couple hours, and we would like for you to study for it and take it. And maybe if you're not happy with your score, you take it again. But the standardized testing does not need to become an extracurricular activity that you do every 2 months or so, because your fullness as a person is very important to us in this process. And so we do take self-reported scores. We do not, we will super scores your scores. We do not take or require the written section of the SAT or ACT. And then there's often a question about subject tests. With SAT subject tests, they're strongly recommended if they're accessible to you. We don't have a preference for which ones you take unless you're applying through Pratt. If you apply through Pratt, we would like to see that one or more of these subject tests are either in a math or a science, and showing that you have had experience with calculus and physics in some capacity. Then you have your letters of recommendation. So we require 3 letters of recommendation, 1 from your college counselor and 2 from core academic teachers. And so this is not weight training or dance. This is math, science, social studies, your languages, those all count. Give your teachers plenty of time. This is an opportunity for us to know a little bit about who you are in the classroom, how you show up, how you learn, how you contribute to learning, how you are a facilitator of the learning process, right? And really your strengths in the classroom. And so looking for your teachers to share that with us. Next, we're looking at your essays. So this is a particularly a moment for you to speak directly to your admissions officer and to the admissions committee, right? The committee that is evaluating your application. And so you can write about anything. We do not have a preference, but this is an opportunity for you to share, give context to your application, why why you've done certain things, why you've been a part of certain organizations, maybe some life-altering experience that you've had that has defined for you why Duke is the right place. We do have a Why Duke essay, which is a supplementary essay that's required. Similarly with this essay, right? We want to see that you've done the research and that you understand why you want to be at Duke University. It's very easy to copy and paste and kind of make this an essay that looks like a lot of other colleges. I warn you to be careful in this process, one, because we see so many essays, and so it helps you to do a little research and understanding why you want to be here, but also in editing. And so Duke is spelled with 4 letters, but so is Penn. And so we see a number of times when people are copying and pasting and forget to switch out words, and so you don't want to be in that situation. So I encourage you to proofread all your essays. Next is extracurricular activities. What are you involved in outside of the classroom? What are you involved in outside of your time at school, right? And so whether that is underwater basket weaving or basketball or dance, it's important to us. And what we're looking for in looking at your extracurriculars, right, is really looking at your impact and your depth of involvement. And that's what we want to see coming across in what you share with us. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have alumni interviews available on a first come first serve basis. So it's not an end all be all if you do not receive one. We understand that a good portion of our applicants are not able to have them. And then artistic supplements. If you're a vocalist, if you draw, you paint, and you want to share that with us because it's important understanding the context of who you are, share that with us and we receive those. And so really going back to the point of we're building a class of individuals who need to be good roommates, good hallmates, good partners. And so all of these pieces are just what we're looking for and looking at you as a whole. So this is a little bit about by the numbers. There's always a question about, is there an advantage to applying early decision? As you can see from the numbers, there is. You're looking at a smaller pool. You're looking at a response to Duke being your #1 choice. And so those are just things to consider as you're making your decision. A quick bit about financial aid. So we meet 100% of demonstrated financial need, and we are need blind in our admissions process for U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and eligible non-citizens. So that includes DACA and undocumented students as well. And so we meet 100% of demonstrated need. You need to fill out the FAFSA and the CSS profile in order for that to happen. We do have a limited amount of merit-based aid that is available to our students. And the great thing about them is that when you apply to Duke, your application to us is also your application to all of these merit-based scholarships. And so there's plenty of opportunity. There's no other application necessary basically for merit-based scholarships, with the exception of the Robertson Scholars Program, which is a joint effort between us and UNC Chapel Hill, which does have its own application process. So I encourage you to check that out. And so this is just a slide to point you to a resource, Net Price Calculator and My Intuition. Those are great resources in helping you look at what financial aid packages can look like, especially if you're looking to make that decision of applying early decision or regular decision, and you don't know if finances will affect that for you. Definitely utilize that as a way to get an estimate, because we have found that in over 98 or 99% of situations, the Net Price Calculator is accurate in giving you a sense of what financial aid can look like. And so the way we break down financial aid, you fill out the FAFSA CSS profile. It gives us your estimated family contribution, and we take our total cost of attendance, we subtract your contribution, and the rest of it we fill with aid. And so whether that's grants, loans, or work study. And then a little bit about our numbers here as far as how financial aid works. That is our total cost of attendance. You're looking at $78,608, which is a scary price tag. But if you see here, 50% of our students are on some form of financial aid. The average financial aid package for students is about $50,000 or so. And more than 60% of our students are graduating debt-free. And so that is our commitment to making Duke and this amazing education that we believe is so valuable, accessible, and cost-efficient for you. So with that, I will kind of thank you for spending a little bit of your evening with me, learning a little bit about Duke, our admissions process. I encourage you to follow us on our social media, engage with us. That is a place where we have students taking over, sharing their student experiences. And so thank you so much and giving me a chance to share with you a little bit about Duke.
Thanks, Hildana, Brooke, and Becky. That was awesome. And I just want to go check out Durham for the food right now. So thank you for that. I am now going to hand it over to Rabbi Alina Friedman, the rabbi on campus for Jewish life at Duke.
So, hey guys, hope everyone is doing okay out there. I'm Rabbi Alina Friedman. I'm the campus rabbi for Duke University. I'm based in our center on campus, which is called Jewish Life at Duke. We have multiple names, so I just want to cover that real fast. Jewish Life at Duke is the name of our center and our department in student affairs. And we have a building on campus, which is called the Friedman Center for Jewish Life. So both those are our entities on campus. We're right, I know Hildana showed that picture of East Campus and mentioned that West Campus is about 1.5 miles away. We're right in the middle between those two, the Friedman Center. So if you're taking that bus back and forth, you just hop off in the middle and you'll be at the Friedman Center, which is amongst other housing and other places on campus that you can visit. So I'm just going to tell you briefly a little bit about Jewish life at Duke and what we have going on campus. There's lots of different opportunities to engage with your Judaism and be on your Jewish journey while you're at Duke. I'll speak mostly about Jewish life at Duke and our center, but also mention a couple other opportunities as well. We are your home away from home while you're on Duke's campus. We hope to provide you with lots of resources and support and programming so that you can flourish in your Judaism while you're at Duke. So like I mentioned, we're part of student affairs. So we work with the other cultural and identity centers, like the Women's Center, the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity, the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture. Those are all of our campus partners to create support for different campus identities or identities on campus. And we work alongside them for programming. We also are part of religious life on campus. There are over 25 religious groups on campus, and we're part of that organization on campus. The chapel, as you saw in the picture, is very big and beautiful and the middle of campus and is a bit looming. Whereas Jewish life, we've got a big building and a lot of students on campus, but our organizations are sort of spread out all over, if you will. So some things that we cover as part of Jewish life is the religious and spiritual aspects of your time at Duke. We hope that will be that touch point for you, whether it be observing Shabbat for our weekly Shabbat services and Shabbat dinner every Friday night, whether it be celebrating holidays like Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur or Passover, or it's eating kosher food. So we have the only kosher eatery on campus at the Friedman Center. All the food is also packaged up and sold both on East Campus and West Campus as part of your meal plan. So you do not need a separate meal plan to eat at the Friedman Center for our kosher dining. It's all part of the same meal plan. And any of your friends can also eat kosher food as well, whether they're kosher keeping or just really like to eat with you, which is always nice. The other big things that we provide besides the religious and spiritual stuff is educational opportunities outside of the academic classroom. So we have the Jewish Learning Fellowship, which is a 10-week class seminar for fun over dinner once a week. And usually each semester we have about 20 students that will participate in the Jewish Learning Fellowship as a way of asking big questions and talking about big issues in life, all through a Jewish lens. We have a weekly Torah lunch club that meets to discuss the Torah portion of the week. We also have educational opportunities around Israel. We have an Israel fellow on our staff who leads our annual birthright trip and facilitates and helps advise our 3 Israel groups on campus. We lastly have a bunch of cultural and social opportunities. So these are things like guest speakers that we bring in from different walks of Jewish life that we think would be interesting. We do lots of trainings with our students, whether it be on anti-Semitism. Hopefully in the future, we're going to be doing a bunch of anti-racism training. And we have a lot of leadership opportunities for students. So we have 6 groups that we advise out of Jewish Life at Duke. The Jewish Student Union, which is our student organization, that's sort of an umbrella cultural organization for Jewish students. We also have the Coalition for Preserving Memory, which is our genocide awareness organization. We have Challah for Hunger, which does monthly challah bakes that raise money for hunger relief organizations. And we have 3 Israel groups. We have Duke's APAC group, Duke's J Street group, and then Duke Friends of Israel, which is not J Street and not APAC. So it's the non-political cultural organization. And all of those three groups are doing active events and programs on campus, and attending the APAC conference or the J Street conference, all with our Israel Fellow and other staff, and bringing fun Israel stuff to campus and hopefully interesting conversation. The last thing I'll say is that we also have fun opportunities or interesting opportunities for people to go a little bit deeper in their Jewish learning and journey. So one of the opportunities I want to highlight is our annual, or excuse me, semi-annual, or every other annual, I don't know what that is, biannual? I think it's biannual, spring break trip through the South, which I know many of you are from Atlanta, but we go to Alabama, to Mississippi and Tennessee for a trip between Black and Jewish students exploring the history of the civil rights on a spring break trip. Brooke Scheinberg, who's on this call, also went on this trip, and Hildana, when she was an undergrad, also went on the trip with me, which was super amazing to have both of you on that trip. And it's an amazing opportunity to learn more about the civil rights movement and really have cross-cultural conversations, in particular sometimes with a Jewish lens, but mostly with an American lens as well. And that's a real highlight of some of the programs that we have through the Friedman Center and through Jewish Life at Duke, but there's also tons of other opportunities. As Hildana mentioned, Duke is a place that if you have ideas or you have interest, it's very possible that is something we can do. So if you come in and you say, I really want to, start a program doing X, Y, and Z, there's a good probability that there's resources that we can pull together to figure out how to make that program happen, assuming it's not already happening. So we're there at Jewish Life at Duke to support you on your Jewish journey, to walk with you, and to make sure that you flourish at Duke and still stay connected to your Judaism. So I'll wrap right there. I'm sure there's questions for Hildana and other folks, but happy to answer any questions about Jewish life on campus as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. I'm going to ask all our presenters to turn their cameras back on as we move into the Q&A section. Becky, I know you wanted to add a little something about your experience on campus.
Yeah, for sure. Like Rabbi Alina was saying, there's a really, really big, diverse Jewish community at Duke. And that also includes the Chabad on campus, which is definitely a big part of the Jewish life on campus. They have Shabbat dinners every week, all the holiday dinners. They have services, and if you just need a home to go have a meal, their doors are open all the time. It is really a home away from home. In addition, they host weekly lunch and learns. They have a program called Sinai Scholars, where you literally get paid to spend an hour a week learning Torah, which is fantastic. I did the program and I learned a ton, and I got paid I think it comes up to $20 an hour, but whatever. Like I said, they're for sure home away from home for a lot of students. The door is always open, and if you ever need a home cooked meal or some fresh challah or matzo ball soup, they are the people to go to.
Thanks, Becky. It's so great that Duke has so much diverse Jewish life to offer their students. We're now going to move into the Q&A section, and there's lots of questions here. Let's see. Hildana, I will direct this to you. Are certain Jewish holidays given off by the school?
I will actually direct this question to Rabbi Alina, who would know better than I would.
I was like, I'll take that, Hildana. So Duke does not give any holidays off, but instead has a religious exemption policy. So the policy states that you can have off for a holiday based on your religious tradition. And the way that you go about that is that you talk to your professor. 99.76, I feel like I'm being exact for Brooke as a math person and for Becky as an engineer, of the professors are totally flexible and amendable, and we'll figure out ways for you to take off class so that you can go observe Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Passover, whatever it is. That little tiny percentage that's where both myself and the academic dean's office come in to help support you and figure out ways that you can make sure that the professor gets with the program a bit, to be blunt. I will say that the challenging piece for this, and this is where there are other schools that give off for all the Jewish holidays, and that is not Duke. The challenging piece is that you don't have off to travel home for all those holidays. And I realize Atlanta, for example, is not super far away, but you're given off to observe the holiday, and that might mean that you have to observe it at Duke. And like Becky mentioned, we have a variety of ways that you can observe them. So we provide as well all the meals for Rosh Hashanah, the pre and post meals for Yom Kippur, as well as full Reform and conservative services for all students, and that's all free. So that we're kind of like, you know, a one-stop shop for all your needs for observing the high holidays. And on top of that, we're very much a no judgment zone. So if you're observing the holiday, but also you feel pressure that you need to go to class, I get it. It happens. These are some of the life decisions you have to make as a college student, and in particular at Duke, and you feel that you need to, you know, come for the morning for catch a little bit of the Torah reading, and then you have your book bag and you want to run to class. That's okay. The back of the sanctuary is like a bunch of book bags, because that's a lot of people are balancing things and need to do that. And then there's some people who decide to use the religious exemption and take off from class completely. Sorry, that was a long answer, but wanted to be full with it, because it is a challenge. It's not easy to observe every holiday at Duke.
And just to add on really quickly, I've used the exemption form many times, and like Rabbi Alina said, I've had no problem at all. And then as well, if you're looking for Orthodox or more traditional services, there is an Orthodox kahila in Durham, which is part of the local community. And there are a lot of really, really interesting, cool people that you can meet from the local Durham community there.
Thanks.
Also,
Beck.
sorry.
That.
Quick add too, even like for me, when I've gotten closer to a lot of professors in like smaller classes, I don't even have to use the religious exemption form. I've just been like, hey, it's Yom Kippur, and they're like, cool, have a good fast. Like, they honestly are like super understanding and are totally just like willing to like work around your schedule.
Awesome. We have a question. Are there any Jewish scholarships for Duke?
None that are Jewish specific, not necessarily ones that are run through our office, that is through our merit-based scholarships.
Hildana, I think that's true. The only thing I'll say is that Jewish Studies is a department that you can get your certificate in Jewish Studies at Duke. So it's not a major, it's not a minor, it's in between the two. Everything's about in between today. It's in between the two, and we have a fantastic team of professors that work in Jewish Studies, and they have a good amount of resources, not necessarily scholarships to pay your tuition, but for opportunities, whether it be studying abroad or doing research or getting some sort of grant. I know that a few of our students have utilized that and have had great success with getting funding for exciting opportunities through Jewish Studies.
Sorry, I'll hop in right there again. I took advantage of this opportunity and applied to a grant for the Jewish Studies department, and was able to fund. I went to Israel last summer, spent the whole summer there, and worked at the Weizmann Institute doing biomedical research, and that was paid for by the Jewish Studies department. So there's definitely a lot of really good resources in the Jewish Studies department.
Awesome. Someone wants to know, this is a fun question. Has anyone ever interned or gone on to work at NASA from the Pratt School of Engineering?
Although I don't know off the top of my head, I would put, if I were a betting woman, which I'm not, but if I were, that it probably has happened, but I do not know.
Let's see. Someone would like to know about the business studies program that's offered to undergrads. What does the business program look like at Duke?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that question. This is a great question because it touches on a little bit about our pre-professional majors. So we don't have any pre-professional majors, but we do have pre-professional tracks. And so students don't major in pre-law, pre-business, or pre-med. They would major in any of our offered majors. And so for example, students that are specifically interested in business, something that comes in helping supplement that curricular experience are certificate programs. Certificate programs exist between majors and minors. So majors are about 10 classes, minors are about 5. Certificates are in that in between, about 6, 7 or so. And so whether it's you major in economics and then you minor, or you do a certificate in finance or markets and management, or innovation entrepreneurship, those are the business specific ones. In addition to that, the bullpen as well as a number of startup incubators are great places for entrepreneurial experiencing and furthering that.
Awesome. I have a clarifying question for Rabbi Alina. Is there a Duke Hillel?
Yes. Thank you for clarifying. We are the Duke Hillel. So this is when I was saying many names, I forgot a name. Jewish Life at Duke, we are an accredited Hillel and serve as a Hillel. So we're technically Jewish Life at Duke, the Friedman Center for Jewish Life, the Rubenstein Silver's Hillel. It's a fun, long name. We're all those things in one. So we are your accredited Hillel on campus as well.
Awesome. I have a question for Brooke and Becky. Someone would like to know, what advice would you give to seniors going through the college application process?
My first thing is going to be hang in there. It's definitely a hard process. For me personally, I applied to Duke early and then I got deferred. So then I got in regular, which was just stressful and crazy, but ultimately worked out. So I think my biggest thing is like, it's going to be hard, it's going to be long, and just like do your best and trust that it will work out. And also, there are so many incredible places and incredible programs that you haven't heard about or that you're hearing about now. And that like, if you put your best foot forward and do everything you can, that's like what you can do. So I know it, I remember being so incredibly stressed out. So to tell you like, don't stress out or like try to stay calm is like maybe unreasonable, but do your best to just recognize that you've done your best up to this point. You've probably worked so hard. You've done so many things, and that's like all you can do.
Yeah, I definitely want to second that. And then also just note that what you think your next 4 years are going to look like, regardless of what you expect, they're probably going to be completely different. And that's very okay. And you're going to change your mind of where you want to go and what you want to do a million times, and just expect that and roll with the flow, roll with the hits, the flow, you'll be fine.
Forgot to unmute myself. Awesome. Thank you for that advice. Let's see if we have any more questions. What is the average GPA and SAT for the most recent incoming class that you have data for?
So we actually, since we just finished our incoming class, it was just like in March, all our data is being crunched, but this is information that is publicly available. So if you search Duke University class of really any class, and then you say class profile, we have the class profile of every incoming class published on our, it's out on the internet. And so when, I'm not sure off the top of my head if we have this one published or not, but all that to say our middle 50% is indicated for GPAs as well as testing. And the important thing to note with there, and the reason we published the middle 50% is because we don't have any cutoffs in our process. So we don't have GPA minimums, SAT or ACT requirements, and minimums and things like that. We're really looking at students that are being admitted on that entire spectrum. And so that's important to know. And that's a big part of our holistic admissions.
Great. I have two last questions before we wrap up. Are Duke students able to volunteer at CAPS?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll start and then I'll hand it over to you, Brooke. Yeah, so just so everyone knows, CAPS at Duke stands for Counseling and Psychological Services. And so it's a part of our wellness center and really Duke's commitment to wellness for students, whether that is whatever that means for you as far as psychological wellness, whether that's adjusting to college or you're already on some form of medication and you would like for it to be filled, the prescription is filled here on campus. Those are all the ways. Because CAPS, Counseling and Psychological Services, is an office, I do believe they have student interns that work in their office. And so they work on programming. And so if you're looking to get engaged and involved, you are able to. And I'll pass it over to Brooke.
Yeah, so I think even outside of CAPS, there's like tons of ways to get involved with like mental health advocacy on campus. NAMI on campus, like the National Institute for Mental Health, is great, and they run a ton of stuff. From like recently they did like a sunset like reading where people just like read their personal stories on the BC Plaza. We've also started to have like mental health first aid for free on campus through Alliance Behavioral Healthcare, which is like in Durham. And so there's like a ton of different ways that if that's something that you're interested in doing, there's also something called Peer for You, which is like student responders to like student influence. So there's like a lot of different ways. I think mental health advocacy is something that Duke cares a lot about and like Duke students are very interested in. So I think that's something that on campus, if you want to get involved, there are tons of ways to do so. And if you had a different idea about something that Duke isn't doing yet, there would be a ton of students and faculty who were like ready to get behind you and get it going.
Awesome. Well, that looks like all our questions. I want to thank our awesome presenters for a very informative hour. I also want to thank all the teens and parents who joined us here today. Just to give you a little insight about our upcoming events, tomorrow we have a teen webinar at 5 for creating a college list. On Wednesday at 5, we have an info session with the University of Florida. And on Thursday at 5, we have our info session with Elon University. Just a quick tip, there is a feedback survey that will come up after you close this webinar, so please fill it out to give us some helpful feedback. If you're interested in learning more about us, come jump on the bus with us at roadtriptocollege.org and follow our social media at JumpSparkATL. All of our sessions are being recorded and can be accessed on our YouTube channel, which can be found on our website. Again, thank you so much for joining us and have a great night.